guys, welcome back to 12 Days of Vlogmas. We are going to talk about like some of my top books of 2024 and then also my TBRs because honestly I haven't read in about 2 months, like an actual full book. Like I just haven't been in the reading mood, but I want to get back into it. So let's start with my physical copies and then we'll get on to the ones that I have on my Kindle. So I have 2 series. The first series is The Inheritance Games. I love this series so much. I just love like a mystery, like they have to figure out something, and this is exactly that. They say it's the same thing as Glass Onion. It's literally Glass Onion but in a book, and I really enjoyed it. The first one is The Inheritance Games, and then it's the Hawthorne Legacy, and then The Final Gambit. The Inheritance Games, obviously the first one is like the best because it just explains like everything, like what happens in the whole series. Basically this girl Avery is like very poor. She is very poor. She lives with her stepsister, and her stepsister has like this really abusive boyfriend. She hates her stepsister's boyfriend, so she moves in to her car. She's like, I'm just gonna live in my car, like I can't deal with it anymore. And then an attorney like sees her and is like, oh, do you know Tobias Hawthorne? You're in his will. And she's like, who the hell is Tobias Hawthorne? She goes to the house of the Hawthornes and then finds out literally all of his inheritance is going to her. And she's like, I don't even know who this man is. Everyone's pissed off, the whole family. He has 4 grandsons and they all are pissed off. It just goes through all of that and it's really good, and you start to like find out about all the brothers and you start to fall in love with the brothers, honestly, because they're just like, they're all so different, but then they all like come together and they have to do like a bunch of mysteries and all that. There's just a lot going on in this series, but I love it, and I love a good mystery where also I get attached to the characters, and I loved the Hawthorne brothers, like amazing. I don't even think this is supposed to be like a romance book, but there is romance in it, and there's like love triangles, and it's just everything you need if you like mystery but also a little bit of romance. So I love this series. Then the next one is Binding 13. I loved this book. I had this on my TBR for a really long time. I started reading it on my Kindle, but I couldn't like get into it, and I think the thing that really steered me away from this book was in the beginning there was a dictionary or a glossary of different words, and I was like, I do not want to have to keep flipping back and forth to figure out what these words are. But honestly, you don't even need the glossary. It takes place in Ireland, so that's why they had that, because there's just different words they use in Ireland than they use in the US. But I love this book. It took me a really long time to read. It is a pretty lengthy book and like the words are very small, but I was like hooked. By like the time I got like maybe like this far in, like not even halfway, I was hooked. I am obsessed with it. Johnny Kavanagh is like a huge rugby player in Ireland. He's like one of the best, but he's still in high school, but he's like a 5th year, 6th year, I don't know, they do that differently over there. And he meets this girl who's like very shy. She's like really small, she's really shy, she has a lot of family issues. She had to move to this college, but it's a high school, because she was getting bullied at her other school, like to the point where she was like literally having to go to the hospital. So she goes to this new school, she gets hit by a rugby ball. Johnny Kavanagh is the one that threw it. It just goes through their whole love story basically. I really love this book, and I didn't realize the second book is the sequel to this series, like Binding 13. I thought it was like a different couple, you know how they do that, but no, this is, the second book is for this. So I have that on my TBR and I'm so excited to read it. I haven't read it yet because this took me a really long time to read. Next one, this is just a cute little love story, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. When it came out, I had to get it because I was going on a trip in the summer and I was like, this is the perfect read for like a beach read. And it was. This girl, Emma, she has this like curse on her that every time she dates someone, they end up getting married to the next person that they meet. And then this other guy, Justin, also has that same curse. Like every time he meets a woman, they break up and then they get married to someone else. So he posts on Reddit about it. She finds the post. They start like messaging on Reddit or wherever they were messaging. Then they end up meeting in real life. They say, let's maybe date each other, so then we'll find our true love after. Since we both have the curse, maybe if we both date each other, then it will like counteract and then they will find their true love after. and I think you can see where this is going, but I love this book. I can't remember the end, but I feel like the end like really got me. I feel like I might have cried a little bit in this book, but I can't remember it. There was one Abby Jimenez book where I actually cried after, and I don't know if it's this or another one I think I read on my Kindle, but this is a really good book. If you want a quick read to get you back into reading, Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer, is the book to read. It is really good. I would actually read this again next summer. Like, I don't remember much of it. I love this one. The last physical book that was my favorite this year was The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Holly Jackson writes some pretty good books. They're very lengthy, but I really enjoyed this book. This girl, her name is Belle. I had to look that up again. Her mom goes missing for like 16 years. She like barely even knew her mother, but she's obviously known as like the girl whose mom disappeared. And the mom's named Rachel Price. She comes back, and then it just takes you through the journey of like Belle trying to rekindle her relationship with her mom, but more like Rachel trying to rekindle her relationship with her daughter. And they're like having some really tough times because Belle did not know her mom at all. So they kind of have to like get through that, and it's really good. The ending is a huge plot twist, and I just love a good twist. Like, this is just like really good. I remember when I found out one of the plot twists, I actually like jaw dropped. I was like, holy shit. It was one of those. So I recommend reading this because if you love that, this is the book to read. It is kind of slow in the beginning, and in some parts it's kind of slow where I'm like, all right, pick it up. But the ending is so worth it. I love this book. Okay, now on to the books I read on my Kindle, which I read most books on my Kindle this year. So this is like my #1 series of the year. Like, other than the Inheritance Games, this one is the book, okay? The Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher is so good. I am so obsessed with that series. Every book is a different brother of the, what the hell are they called? Oh, the Kane brothers. They're all different brothers of the Kane brothers. My favorite brother is Callahan. He's the 3rd book. I love him so much. Like, after I was like, it was one of those characters in a book where you are like expecting to see them more in other books, and I just like really wanted to know more about him. That series is so good. Basically, it's kind of like the same like with the Inheritance. The founder of Dreamland, which is like Disneyland, it's like a play on words. The founder of Dreamland dies and leaves the 3 brothers with like a task, 3 grandsons with a task. And the first book, Rowan I think his name is, he has to build like a whole new section of the park. He doesn't want anything to do with this, and then he meets this girl. She just worked in one of like the beauty areas at the park, and then she gets called up to be one of the designers, and then they go through that. That's kind of like the main storyline of them, and then they go through what they need to go through. The second one is Grayson. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm getting the names mixed up from that and the Inheritance Games, but I'm pretty sure it's Grayson. He's not the oldest, but he's like more mature and like more business-like, I guess. I don't know, but basically his task to get the money is he has to marry someone and have a kid with them. So he gets set up to like have a fake marriage with this like woman. The woman ends up like leaving, and then this other girl is there. They have a fake marriage and so on. And then the third one, Callahan, which I love. He's kind of like the bad guy. He has no goals in life. Unlike the other 2 brothers, he kind of just like goes with the flow. He hates the whole Dreamland thing. He just like doesn't want to have any part in the business. He like barely cares about the money, whatever. But they all need to complete this task in order for all 3 of them to get the money. He has to go back to this like lake house that they had and sell the lake house. But when he gets there, his ex-girlfriend lives there with her daughter. So he has to convince her to sell it, but then they end up falling in love, all of that. I love that series so much. If I could reread that series, I would, but they are so big, those books, that I just don't feel like ever reading that again. But it was really good, and honestly I didn't even know it was that big because I was reading it on my Kindle, and then I saw the physical book and I was like, wow. I read through that shit so quick because it was so good. I love that series. Oh, the other book that stood out for me, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That book deserves all the hype that it got. I was obsessed with it. I read it in 2 days. Like, could not put it down. Every time I would log off of work, I would get on that book. If I had a break for work, I would open up that book. It was so good. I would reread that again. So I only really read like 25 books this year or something like that. I wanted to read 50. Oh no, I think I read 31 books. So like pretty good. I was like on a roll in the beginning of the year until like the summer ended. That's kind of where I stopped reading for a little bit because in the summer I read so much, like going to the beach and just like having more time, where in the winter I just like don't really want to read. I just want to scroll. But if TikTok gets banned, like I guess we're gonna have to go back to reading. But now for my TBR, I have 3 because I bought these books and haven't read them yet. I have a few like online, but honestly I just haven't been in the mood. I need to read the ones I actually have first, and then I'll get into my Kindle. The first one is the 4th book of the Inheritance Games. This came out in October and I haven't read it yet, but I had to get it. The Brothers of I think it's just the Brothers Hawthorne. I don't know. I feel like that's not grammatically correct, but I guess it is. I think this takes place like years later. I don't really know, but I need to finish the series, obviously, because this is one of my favorite series, so I'm definitely going to read this probably next. I think this book will get me back into reading, so we're gonna read this one whenever I get a chance to read, or whenever I feel up to it. But this is definitely number 1 on my TBR. Number 2 is a continuation of Binding 13. This is Keeping 13, and I am really, really excited to read this. I need to hear the end of this story between Johnny and what's her name? Shannon Lynch, that's her name. I need to hear the rest of their story, because Binding 13 kind of just left the story just with so many questions and needing more, so I was so happy to find out there was a second book and it was all about them. This is like one of those books where it's like, trust BookTok, because they were right about the Binding 13 series. Like, it is so good. Then my last book on my TBR as of right now is a Lauren Asher book, because I love Dreamland Billionaires, and it is Lakefront Billionaires. The Love Redesigned is the first one. These are lengthy. Honestly, all the books that I need to read are lengthy. But I did start reading this like a few months ago, and I got kind of far in, but it was like a very slow start. I think maybe once it picks up a little bit I might like it. I don't know. It's a couple, Julian and Dahlia, and they were together at one point and then they like broke up, but they're still family friends, and then they like meet each other again after like many years of not seeing each other. That's all I got so far. That's literally all I got through, was just like them like seeing each other again. So I feel like this was like a little all over the place, but that's usually how my book videos go, because like I can't get my thoughts in order. But I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know your TBR for 2025. Yes, that's the year we're getting into. I would like to add more to my list, so let me know, and maybe I'll read them. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys tomorrow on 12 Days of Vlogmas day 4 out of 12. Wow, we're so close to Christmas. This is crazy. Bye.